Hi friends, hello, happy Thursday. Welcome to Craft Your Joy Live. I'm super excited to be here with you today. Hello, I'm Lisa Hetrick. Okay friends, I have a really fun tutorial to share with you today. We are going to, this is the last holiday tutorial in the series, and I'm going to do a little recap when we head to the down camera. But today's tutorial is going to be a continuation of our discussion of gouache, which is opaque watercolor, and we're going to make a holiday ornament using, it could be a tag now that I think about it. But it's 3D. We're going to make a 3D holiday ornament using stamps, gouache, and ink, keeping it super simple. Okay, and I'm going to share a couple other little ornament kind of things. So just going to say a quick hello to friends that have popped in. Hi, Judith, Rhonda, Gloria, Donna. Hello. Happy holidays, everyone. So everybody's kind of chatting in the chat. There's a lot of light happening here. Okay. I'm super excited about today's tutorial. And today we're like a couple days away from Christmas Eve and Christmas. So I will not have a tutorial next week, and I'll talk a little bit more about that as we get towards the end. So let's just go ahead to the down camera and just kind of like pop my head on and we'll do a quick review. Our tutorial series has been focused on the same same color palette, but we've been focused on techniques with gouache, which excuse me, is opaque watercolor, excuse me. And we've been doing some really fun techniques. Hello, Delina, who just popped in. The first tutorial in the series, we did this tag, which is right here. We did this tag and using the Merry Everything stamp set, Merry a Season of All stamp set. And I think Merry Everything, I used both actually. Secret Garden, because we had this shape. So I've got kind of this theme going with the holiday series, focused on some of the die shapes in my Gina K collection. Same thing with this. This was our oversized card from last week, and I used that tree triangle die from the it was last year. No. Oh my goodness. Yes. Last year's stamp set. And we're going to use that again today. Holy smokes, my brain just went. But today we're going to make an ornament. But before we get started on that, I kind of wanted to bring in some ornaments and just kind of show you. And this was a request from you guys last week and the week before. We talked about making ornaments. So in the holiday series here on YouTube, in the holiday series playlist, I have an ornament that we did last year using an embroidery hoop. This isn't the one. Pretty sure I gave that ornament away, but this is very similar. This was the inspiration for that ornament. So that tutorial is in the playlist. So that was there. But then last year, I think it was last year as well, or maybe even the year before. No, it was last year. I did another tutorial for an ornament / tag that we did on wood that looked very similar to that. And I know I gave that away last Christmas. But just some fun paper crafting inspired tutorials, ornaments. This one I did a little bit of stitching and also did some beadwork, and it was cut out from one of my watercolor pieces. And then here are some ornaments that I've shared. This ornament is what inspired this tag project that is in the holiday playlist. And I brought out this one because, friends, probably up until 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock this morning, we were going to make an ornament on this. We were going to make one like using this. And then I just kind of pulled back and decided to do something a little bit different. So if there is interest down the road on learning how to do ornaments on these kinds of surfaces, which this ornament is a um, like a ceramic, but it's raw, and you can paint it, you can do all kinds of things. I have painted these, hand painted these over the years and sold them, and I have quite a few of them, so I thought it might be kind of fun down the road, but I just kind of brought that out. So okay, so today we are going to be using the merriest season of all, and we're going to be using the triangle die. Why did I put that stamp set away? Holy smoke. From Merry Everything, from last year's stamp set. This was my holiday stamp set with Gina K this year. Last year was Merry Everything, and it had this die in it, this perfect triangle die that we've used for the tree card. And I've also used it for a couple other things throughout the year. But we're going to use this die to make a 3D ornament today. Okay, if you have questions along the way, the supplies aren't listed down below here on YouTube or over on Facebook, but they will be later after the tutorial. I just kind of ran out of a little bit of time right beforehand to kind of share what I'm using in today's tutorial. If you have questions along the way, please don't hesitate to drop it in the chat, and we'll go from there, and I'll answer them live, of course. So this is the stamp set that we're using, Merriest Season of All, and we're going to do a combination of techniques and talk about gouache along the way. And just as a refresher, in the last two tutorials, we've talked about gouache. Gouache is a watercolor, opaque watercolor. And we've also talked about how you can take, excuse me, it figures. You go live and you all of a sudden get a scratchy throat. Okay, we've also talked about taking your white gouache or any kind of white gouache that you have and adding it to your watercolor paint. This is Cascade Green from Daniel Smith to get an opaque look. And we've also talked about adding it to, I think it was this one right here, adding it to your Gina K inks to get an opaque look. Today we're going to be using this Shell Pink, which is a gouache from Holbein. But if you wanted to create this color using your Gina K inks, you could use Innocent Pink and add some white, and you're going to be able to create that color or get really, really close to it. Okay, let's bring it in. Let's bring it in. This is the idea I kind of woke up with. I was like, I want to do something 3D, and I want to do something with paper. So I'm like, how can I make that happen? We've got this tree die. So we're going to I cut the tree die out of watercolor paper 3 times. And we're going to be we're going to be stamping and painting on these 3 triangles and creating our pattern, and then we'll assemble the ornament. But this is what it's going to look like. So watch, I'm going to just kind of see if I can get my hand out of the way and just kind of show you the ornament. We've got this 3D look, and because I'm using watercolor paper, it's got some stability to it. It would make a really cute tag, but it's just kind of a really fun ornament, and I'm just kind of loving it. Good morning, Cheryl. And we're using the same color palette that we've used over the last 2 tutorials, but in the last tutorial, everybody kind of wanted me to share an ornament project, so here we are. We're going to make an ornament project using paper, inks, stamps, and a little bit of gouache paint. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, and again, I used the triangle die from Marry Everything from the stamp set. So if you have a triangle die, or you could easily cut this triangle shape, and I'm going to talk about how we're going to score it and assemble that. We'll go into that as we do that towards the end. It's also like a great banner die. So like you could flip it and create a banner. But any kind of triangular shape die you can use to create this. Or if you have a circle die, a larger circle die, same concept, okay? So if you have questions about that, don't hesitate to put them in the chat. Now, the first thing that we're going to do is I've got my shell paint here, and we're going to paint a base layer of this pink on all 3 of these watercolor papers. Okay, let's just go ahead and dive in. I'm going to, my brush is wet, my paper's dry. I'm going to add just a little bit of water to this, just a little bit. I'm not going to do like a wet into wet, but I am just going to work right from the tube and then just add some color in here. And I'm going for, you can see how opaque this color is. This shell pink, I love it. But I think I'm going to be going for a little less opacity. We'll see. You can see how I've added a lot of water, so I'm able to go from a really opaque look to a really light wash of it. And I can always add in a little bit more. I'm kind of just holding the tip here. I think I really do want a little bit more here. So let's just add some of that color in here. So friends, we're getting really, really close to the holidays. How's everybody feeling? For some reason, and you know, we've all got a lot going on here. There's a little bit of the paper color showing here. I'm going to leave that. I know that everybody has a lot going on. Between the holidays, we kind of lost a week because Thanksgiving was a little bit later. And that really just kind of snuck up on me. I'm adding water to my paper here. And you can see there's just a little bit of that gouache already on my brush. But look how beautiful that color is. But I'm just going to add a little bit more and just kind of get a little bit more of the opacity that I'm looking for. So it kind of snuck up on me. And this morning I was like, at 5 a.m. I woke up. Well, I woke up many times through the night, but I woke up at 5 a.m. and my brain was like, ding, 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 ding. It's time to start thinking of all the things. So I was like, all right, I'm just going to go ahead and get up. But yeah, a lot of stuff going on. I hope everybody is doing well. This time of year can be overwhelming with tasks and things, but let's just try to have a little bit of joy for the next hour and create a fun project together. Now, this idea for this project, this ornament idea, this 3D ornament can be adapted to any season. So as we all know, we've got the lovey season coming up, right? Valentine's Day. You could really make some kind of fun ornament or fun packaging with this concept easily. You could easily adapt this concept. So just kind of fun. And I'm always looking for ways for us to be able to use our stamps and our inks and just kind of maximize the use beyond cards, you know, using them for our paper crafting projects. So just getting a really nice layer of this color. So getting a nice gouache layer, opaque watercolor on all 3 of these pieces is going to give me that kind of ground to the project. It's going to give me a layer. It's like painting a wall. You've got that first layer, and then when we add our next layer, it starts to come to life. We used that concept last week in the card where we were adding the layer of the shell pink and then stamping over top of it. And it really just kind of gave us a lot more texture and dimension without any of that height. You got that 3D look. That's what we're going for again today with the trees. Now I'm going to dry them. You can see that they're not like super opaque because I want a little bit of that paper color to kind of come through. Okay, let's just go ahead and dry this. Probably going to burn my finger. But I do want this good and dry before we move on to the next step. Okay. Cheryl, that's a great idea. Cheryl just said, would it be fun to fill the ornament with something special to use it as a gift box? Yes. And when we put this together, I'll show you what kind of space you have down inside to do that, which would be kind of fun. Well, actually, you'd have to go the opposite direction with it, but I can share how you could do that. But yes, that would be a ton of fun. And I was going to do like a gift boxy like kind of thing today, but my brain went in a different direction. Okay, I'm cleaning up just a little bit because I know me, and everything will be a hot mess really quickly if I don't tidy up a little bit. So let's just do a quick tidy. And now we're going to move on. And we're going to start with the stamp. We're going to start with the stamp right here, which is sort of like a Christmas flower stamp. It sort of looks like a little bit like a lily, like a Christmas lily. It can be one of those kinds of graphic flowers that you could use for anything, where you're just going to change up your color, and it's that adaptable. So that's why I like creating the flowers that I create for my stamp sets are like that. They're graphic in nature. Okay, the color that we're going to use, we're going to start stamping our pattern on all three of these pieces of watercolor paper. Everything's pretty dry, and we're going to work from the bottom up. So we're going to come across the bottom with a layer, and then another layer, and then another layer, and then ultimately a layer for the very, very top. So when you turn it, it sort of has some symmetry to it, but there is like some movement of elements that are going in different directions. So, and again, this is just some really basic pattern stamping that we're going to do. We've got this layer of gouache on here. I'm going to use some this is cherry red, and I'm just going to ink up that stamp it 3 times across the bottom, and just kind of turn it a little bit and just follow what I've got going here. Now, before I stamp the other 3, I'm just going to go ahead and do it. I had it in my brain, I had something else I was going to do. I'm just going to go ahead and stamp all 3 across the bottom. Now, if you wanted to kind of create, you could kind of put them together. If you're looking to kind of create a little bit of lining them up and a little bit of symmetry, you could do that. You could put these together just so you can kind of see where you're stamping. But I'm going a little bit rogue here and just kind of turning and quarter turning my stamp so that I can play with it a little bit. Now, we're going to work with the color that's here. I've got a number 10 brush. I have a number 10 brush. We're going to work with the cherry red from the center here, and just kind of, oh, that brush is so super wet. I think I'm going to change brushes. I am going to change brushes. That brush holds a lot of water. I'm going to use this round number 2. And let's get a little bit of cherry red down on to our work surface. Because I stamped that cherry red on top of that gouache, it did dry pretty quickly. I'm going to add a little bit of water to the cherry red. We're going to use cherry red as our watercolor medium. Add just a drop of it here and clean my brush and just start working with what's here. And because I'm using the cherry red, I'll just take a little tiny bit more and drop some right there. And I'm painting it over top of that gouache. The gouache is picking up. So the shell pink is kind of picking up. So you're getting, and it's mixing with that cherry red, and I'm getting a little bit more of a milky version of cherry red. So let's go ahead, clean off my brush again, and I'm adding like just a couple little droplets of water here inside, kind of turning this technique into a little bit of a wet into wet. There we go. All right. Hi, Glorimar. She's waving her hand at everyone. Hello, friends. How's everybody feeling today? I hope everybody's feeling good, energized. You might feel a little bit overwhelmed. I hope not. It's such a beautiful season. I'm loving the way that looks. Loving the contrast that we get here between that cherry red, that shell pink, and then we're getting a little bit more of a milky red right inside here. I'm going to flip this around. And again, we're just building up our color. Just going to drop a little, just a couple little droplets in here, just randomly. Clean off my brush. And just kind of come in here. Ah, la 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 la. Drop in the chat if you've done all your wrapping. I have not. That's my Sunday project. Ooh, that looks pretty cool. I'm liking the way that looked. I kind of lost a little bit of my center of the flower. That's okay. I can just kind of come back in and pop a little bit of that full strength red right here in the middle. Gloria says, enjoying our time with you. I am enjoying our time together too. All right, I'm going to move this over here. And let's go ahead and move on to our second layer. And just add a little bit of water again, just working our way around these cute little Christmas flowers. Got a lot of water on that brush. Let's just go ahead and add in a little bit of that red. Delina said her wrapping's all done and our gifts are shipped out. Wowza. I do have a couple gifts that need to ship out. I'm a little behind. I'll get there. I'll get there. I do have all of my gifts kind of set up on a table. And I've got all the supplies, the wrapping paper supplies out. And everything is like kind of organized in little like bags as to who gets what. So I consider that a win, that I'm that far ahead versus having like a jillion bags sitting around from my shopping. So kind of fun. So yeah, this kind of happens to me every year. Like I get really ahead of things and then all of a sudden we get to the wrapping part and I lose interest. So wrapping is, I used to love wrapping and making each thing really decorative. So I do like doing it. But we'll see. We'll see what happens this year. Glorimer just shared, I don't have stamps or stencils. Maybe I can just draw them or use acrylic gouache to outline. You absolutely can. You can absolutely do that. You could do this same technique and you could draw, just doodle down some shapes and kind of create that look and feel. Cheryl just shared the wrapping is done, just need to finish the tags. So nice. I have wanted to work on the wrapping and I thought maybe I'll work on some of it tonight. I'm getting all of my flowers a little wet here. And then just adding a little bit of that cherry red in. Got a little bit of a glare. Being a little bit hasty here. Let's take our time. So yeah, getting the wrapping going on. We host Christmas Eve, so I've got some food to make. So yeah, fun, and some food to make for Christmas Day. So it all comes together. So trying to enjoy all the bits of the season, all the things that we're doing as family. My husband and I, my kids, and their boyfriend and girlfriend. We get to do all the things that we do together. We got a couple family things happening this weekend. I'm loving these colors, which are kind of fun. So it all comes together, and I just love the season. All right, I'm loving the way this looks. Look at that mix of the cherry red and the shell pink, and we've got this other color going. I'm loving it. Okay, let's go ahead and wipe this up because I know what'll happen. My hand will be going right in it. And then I'm gonna dry this because we're going to go to our next layer up, and that's going to be doing some leafery. And I want to make sure everything's dry before I move on so I don't accidentally booger it up. So let's go ahead and dry this. Hello. Okay. Now, we're going to use the leafery. There's two different leafery pieces for this stamp set. One goes in one direction, one goes in another. You could use both, or I'm just going to use one and kind of keep all of them going in the same direction. And that's because when you turn it, it kind of looks like they're all going in the same direction. You could go this direction and then have one coming this way and then have the other going in another direction to create a little bit of variety between your three layers, your three panels. You could do it totally that way. So if you want to. But I'm going to keep it a little bit on the symmetrical side right now. Glorimar says, snow. I can see snow on those lovely trees. The white peeking through. Yes, very cool. Okay, now dark spruce. I'm bringing in the Gina K dark spruce, which over the last tutorials you have seen that this is like my favorite color for it's got that like vintagey kind of cascade green look to it. It's got a little bit of turquoise in it, a little bit of blue. Love it. So that's what we're going to do. All three of these projects that we've done in this holiday tutorial series have used the same color palette. So the three of them can work together. Also, using that color palette just kind of minimizes the amount of decisions that you need to make making a project, right? So I'm going to talk a little bit about that. I'm going to come across here. We're going to see a little bit of that stem, and we're just going to go ahead and give that a stamp down. And I'm going to do it again for this middle piece. And I'm kind of nesting one of the pieces of leafery right here. Kind of using that as an eyeball. I know I have a little bit more of that tail showing. Not so worried about it. We're going to add a little 3D element to it. Good morning, Irma. Irma just popped in. I'm just going to add that there. Now, I'm not going to add water to this color, to the dark spruce, and do any kind of watercolor with it. I'm just going to go ahead and let it dry. For some reason, I forgot to bring my tidy towel over here. So we're just going to tidy that up. Tidy it up. And go from there. I'm going to close up my dark spruce. And now we're going to work on our next layer. So take a look at this layer, this pattern layer. And again, we could put all three of these together so that you can kind of see that there's a little bit of symmetry involved here. little bit more of that tail showing or that stem showing than I really want to, but I know that when we bring this all home, it's going to be fine. Okay, now I'm going to come in. We've had a pretty open line layer of floral. Then we have a layer, a nice solid layer of leafy. And now we're going to come in with the medium-sized poinsettia from the merriest season of all. It's going to give us a really nice, first of all, the poinsettia is a little bit wonky and kind of fun. And it's going to give us a nice solid again between it for our layers here, which I think is fun. So let's do it. Let's do it. Let me move the dark spruce. Okay. Now I'm just going to go ahead and ink it up. And we're going to be able to fit 2 across these layers. And I'm intentionally stamping them so that they're kind of a little bit stamped off of the edge. And then we're going to be doing some quarter turns. So I'm kind of focusing, looking at what I've stamped here. I've got some negative space here. And I want to go ahead and stamp so that I can take advantage of some of that negative space. And then just do a little quick quarter turn and stamp again. And that kind of goes off the edge a little bit. Now, I've got a lot. Yep, I did just spin on that. I've got a lot of ink on that stump. So let's go ahead. And it's a little inky, and I kind of hit it pretty heavy, but that's okay. When the cherry red starts to, let's just turn this way. Let's play with this a little bit. When the cherry red starts to mix or layer on top of the shell pink, that gouache color, it's going to change. It's not going to be like that cherry red. It's going to start to lay on top, and it becomes a different color, which is kind of fun. When you can see it when it dries. You can really see it when it dries. So if you've ever used like a Distress Oxide ink, it's very similar to that. We Distress Oxides have white in them, and so we're kind of mimicking that look a little bit. Just a little bit. Okay. Loving that. Now let's go ahead and heat that dry before I move on to that next layer too. Now this next layer is going to be kind of fun. Going to be kind of fun. Okay, let's pop that right there. Let's see, it's just a little tiny bit wet, so let's just go ahead and dry it. But I'm already digging it. So if you didn't want to create the ornament, you could easily just create these kind of pattern trees, and you could use them as tags, or you could just pop them onto a card like we did last week, and you've gotten 3 cards done. So kind of fun. Let's just go ahead and dry this. You can see how deep and rich that cherry red is becoming. Woo, burn. Burn my fingers. Cheryl's got a great question. Let's go ahead and pop that question up, Cheryl, so everyone can see that. Let me pop that up. When layering ink on top of the gouache, does it take longer for the ink to dry? A little bit. It takes a little bit for it to dry because we are working on the watercolor paper, and it kind of creates that layer, a primer layer. The gouache has that, I'm getting ready to nerd out, friends. That gouache has that white mixed in with the watercolor paint. So it kind of creates a gesso layer, which gesso is a primer for your canvases and for paint. Or think about like when you're painting your walls and you've got a primer on your wall. It kind of creates that effect. So when you're stamping on it, you can feel that it's got a little tooth to it. Even though the watercolor paper has tooth to it, when you add gouache and we're stamping on top of it, it does feel a little gritty and toothy. So it does take a little longer to dry. That's why I'm kind of heat setting it or just adding a little heat to it just to dry it in between. Okay. All right. Now I'm going to do something. I love my swatch. We've got this was used in the merriest season of all. I've got another swatch. We've used it on the swan. It's been a fan favorite in the last couple stamp sets. Now I'm going to turn my triangles, my little pie shapes, just kind of turn them in towards each other like this. Now notice the design. Oh, let's move this up a little bit. Okay. Notice the design. You can kind of see, like, we've got some symmetry here, but this is what I was talking about with the leafery. By having it all go in the same direction, we've got the whoop, boop, boop there, and we've got some nice movement with our poinsettia. Now, what I want to do for the top part, I'm just kind of lining this up a little bit, is I've got our swoosh, and I want to come across all three pieces with the swoosh in the dark spruce. And let's just try to get this as close together as possible. You could take a little bit of tape, like masking tape, and put it underneath it. Let's think about doing that. Let's see what that does. So, you're welcome, Cheryl. Let's just add a little bit of tape underneath it just to kind of hold it down while we're stamping. I think I might get a better impression. I didn't do that earlier, but it just popped in my head as an idea, and I think it's a good one. So let's go ahead and just tape that down and see if we can get our little pieces of our pie as close together as possible. If my tape will stick, because I am using purple tape, and purple tape doesn't, it's a low tack tape, and it looks like nothing is sticking. So let's go ahead and try again. It could be the piece that I was using. Oh my goodness. Okay. Friends, drop in the chat if you've made a lot of cards for the holiday season, or if you've made any projects that you're excited about. I'd love to hear it. I'd love to hear what you've been working on. All right, let's just keep doing this and trying to get that piece down. And this is a very little piece of tape, so let's get a better piece. Okay. While I'm taping this down, a little announcement. The next, my next release with Gina K is happening, January 7th. And I'm super excited about that set. I'm very excited about it. I don't have it here yet, but when it gets here, I'll be starting on the inspiration. All right, that's just kind of cool. Look at this shape. Loving the way this looks. Now, by pulling them together and getting them as close as possible, it is going to maximize the amount of swooshy space that I have. So I'm looking at my swoosh and just kind of deciding based on my design which way this will work better. And I think it'll work better this way. So let's go ahead and ink this up in the dark spruce. And I'm going to stamp this down. Turning it just a little bit. There we go. Delina just shared I made 150 cards for the senior citizen home and 55 for my family and friends. Holy smokes. Also just addressed 55 New Year's cards. Wow. That is a lot. That's amazing. Okay, you see how I didn't get a good impression here? That's okay. We're just going to add a little bit of water to our swoosh, just like we have, and just kind of follow the brush lines and swoosh across all three. Loving that. Just adding a little, and because that brush, the water is mixing a little bit. I'm not doing it with all of it. I'm just letting some of that dark spruce the water is mixing with that opaque watercolor underneath. Remember, the gouache isn't permanent. So when you do add water to it, even after it's dry, it will reactivate. Okay. Cheryl shared that she made 20 of her Christmas cards this year and need to start earlier next year. Rhonda shared, I made the cards. I only had 22 to make. I still have a card to make for my granddaughter. Wow. Wow. Everybody made so many cool cards. I made none. I've made the ones that I've made to share with you all on tutorials. I'm just going to dry this up before we move on to the next step. Okay. Now, while this is here and kind of in position, I'm going to add a little more tape to it. I think that the most cards I've ever made to mail may have been like 10 cards, so over the years, but over the last couple years I haven't made any to mail. I just haven't done it. And again, I think it's because I do like to mass produce things, and I'm showing you a technique today that's kind of mass production like, right? I do like to mass produce things when I'm in the right mindset to do it. Over the last couple years, I just haven't done it. But all the projects that I've created, like to teach tutorials with, I tend to give them away, which is fun. I do like to give them away around the holidays. Okay. All right, now I've got this piece here. We've got this kind of taped down. I am loving the way it looks. Now, I'm going to come in and we're going to add some gold to it. And I'm not going to do the splatter. We've done splatter. Let's pull a couple splatter projects. Remember this project right here, this tag. Look at the splatter. Loving it. Kind of dig the way it looked. But we did more of a controlled splatter over the last couple tutorials, and I'm kind of digging the way that looks. I love how you guys are just chatting in the chat about with Deline about all the cards that she's made. Love it. Okay, gonna start coming in here with a little bit of gold and just dropping in. I've got the very tip of my round brush. And that's one of the beautiful things about a really good round brush is that you can get it to come. You can see I'm rolling the brush in the metallic, in the pigment. I've got a lot of pigment on this brush, but that brush comes to a really nice point. And it's allowing us to get a really nice droplet of gold. Then I'm just kind of working my way up, and then I'm just going to work my way down across the next layer. Kind of smooshed. Did a little smooshy right there, but that's okay. Going to come across here, add a little bit to our centers. Just kind of being random. I'm really choked up on the ferrule of the brush here quite a bit. That's okay. Working my way across. Kind of backtracking a little bit because I wanted to add a little bit. Gonna add a little more pigment here. Cheryl just shared. Hi, Mary. Mary just popped in late for her geek time. We are geeking out. We are geeking out in our final episode in our holiday series. Cheryl just said this would be a pretty as a wall art piece. Reminds me of it does. She said it reminds me of an open Japanese fan. It kind of does. It would be pretty, like, if you did like a little shadow box and you popped it up a little bit. You're giving me some ideas. Popped it up a little bit. That would be really pretty. I love that idea. Okay, just dropping a little bit of this gold. Very intentionally, sort of. And, you know, little, if I just kind of dab the tip of the brush, I get a smaller look to it. And I'm just going to keep this with gold and not add some white. I'm digging that. I'm digging the way that looks. Got a little bit of layer of gold. I'm going to go ahead and dry it. Let's go ahead and dry it. And then we're going to set it aside for a moment. How are we doing on time? We're doing great. Okay. Sandra just said, love the examples. Yes! Delina said, I started my Christmas cards in July. That explains it. I know you guys are having a chat in there. But so Delina had to start them in July. Oh, wow. At a Christmas in July party. Very fun. Very, very fun. Mary, take care. Hope you have continued healing. What happened with Mary? Mary, coming late. Oh, watching from the hospital, and the doctor was in. Mary, I hope you're okay. I hope you are healing or on the mend. Okay. Wow. A lot of cards. Okay. This is dry. Pretty dry. Now I'm just going to go ahead and lift this up. We'll take my tape out. I've got my little pie slices. I do love me some pie. All right. Let's go ahead and move these to the side, my little tree shapes. Now, look at them. They're really gorgeous. You could use these for tags, or you could, again, make cards with them. We are going to do our ornament. Now we're with them. I'm getting into it. But first, we're going to make 3 more flowers, the open line flowers, that are going to be a nice companion, you know, to the flowers that we used in the bottom layer of our tree. And these are going to be our 3D embellishments. Okay. All right. I'm going to ink this up. Everybody is sharing such wonderful comments for Mary. Mary, I hope you are on the mend. And you get out of the hospital really soon. Okay, I'm just going to stamp. Let's just go ahead and we're going to stamp this 3 times. And again, I am using, oh, that was a little bit pushy. I'm using Strathmore Ready Cut Watercolor. That's my favorite watercolor paper. Should be no surprise. All of you friends have been with me many times, so you know that is my favorite. And now we don't have a gouache layer. We are going to use the brush, add a little bit of water, and just kind of activate that cherry red just by going around the edges and a little bit. See how there's a lot of that red in the middle? I'm going to try to activate as much of that cherry red as possible to get myself a layer and use the ink that I stamped with as a watercolor medium. And it's pretty light, so I think I'm going to want to add to it. But that's okay. That's okay. Normally when I'm doing this technique, I would stamp and then I would watercolor it and then I would stamp the next one because it dried pretty quickly. So what we're going to do is just going to take a little bit of that cherry red, pop it down here on the glass, get that nice and juicy, and then just drop a little bit in. Clean my brush, and then just kind of make that move. Let it do its thing. Let it spider out. I'm not so worried about going outside the edge of this image because I am going to fussy cut it out. I could die cut it out, but I really want to go right to the edge of the image. So I'm going to fussy cut it. Just dropping a little bit of that cherry red in there. And just letting that have that watercolor effect. Love it, love it, love it, love it. Okay, now I'm just going to go ahead and dry this so that we can cut our embellishments. And then we're going to put our ornament together. Woo! You can see everything kind of moving around a little bit. Oh, Mary, I'm so sorry. I'm happy to hear you have great care. Oh. And I'm sorry to hear about your implant. Really, really hope you're on the mend. Thinking about you. Okay. We're going to go ahead and cut these out. And I'm just going to cut all 3 out, and I'm going to fussy cut them. But if you have the Merriest Season of All stamp set, there is a coordinating die. You could easily die cut these out. But friends, you know how much I like to fussy cut. And the reason why I am fussy cutting these is this is a pretty simple shape, and I really want to get really close to the edge of that image. So the die cut version of the image leaves you a little bit of a white lip around the stamp, and that's wonderful too. But since I'm doing kind of a little bit of a messy watercolor technique here, and I know that some of that watercolor might go on the outside edge of my stamped image, I'm just going to fussy cut it, because then I can just cut that out and cut it away. So while I'm cutting these out, we'll chat a little bit. So again, my new Gina K release for January is coming out January 7th, and that's 7 p.m. Central. So I'm super excited for that. Can't wait for that stamp set to arrive to start creating some sample inspiration and all the good stuff for that. But I will give you a little hint. It is a little lovey. And it's a little bit different for me. Been trying a couple little different things this year, so that set's going to be fun. Okay. Let's just go ahead and keep cutting this out. Friends, I won't be going live next week because it's Christmas. And Christmas Eve is Tuesday, Christmas is Wednesday. On Thursday, I am going to take a break and enjoy my family, enjoy some downtime. So I probably will not be going live. So the following week is moving us into the new year, and I will be going live that week. It's just might not be on Thursday. It might be happening on Friday instead, since we have New Year's Eve and New Year's Day on the Tuesday and Wednesday. We're probably going to do a live on a Friday. So I'll keep everyone posted on that. If you're on my email list, you'll know, because it will be popping into your inbox and you'll see it. If you're not on my email list, you're hearing me tell you about it now. And also, friends, the other thing that I shared in the last I think it was the last episode or the last 2 episodes, that I launched my new community at craftyourjoylab.com. I would love to see you over there if you haven't already joined, and many of you have. It's fun. I think we're really close to like 50 new members over there. It's completely free to you. I moved my free community off of my online classroom platform into a new, newer platform that was more interactive and gave me a lot more ability to create a community there. So I'd love for you to go check it out. craftyourjoylab.com. We're doing a lot of experiments over there. More to come on that. So that's just another quick announcement. Okay, I've got my 3 embellishments. Now, the magic is coming. Mary just said, enjoy your downtime. Your creators give us so much pleasure. Oh, let me move that. Want you all to take care of yourselves too. We want you to take care of yourself, Mary. It's so important, friends, for us to pause. I know this time of year can feel so hurried and rushed, and it's not unlike other times of year where you feel a little bit overwhelmed or hurried or rushed. I know that there's been a couple of days I've woken up recently. I felt like I've been hit with a baseball bat, like tired. Not necessarily from volume of work or from things, but from volume of things that are on your mind, right? So when I take these breaks, like next week from coming in live and sharing some content with you, It just means my brain is opening up space for more creative things that I get to share with you. Cheryl just shared, I have loved all the new styles you've been designing for your stamp set. Opens up more creative ideas. And that's exactly what I was saying. Like, I'm getting ready to start. I have been starting some ideas for another big round of stamps for Gina K as we move into 2025. And I've been doing a lot of sketches, and I'm getting ready to start one of those. I'm going to sit down and really think about all of these like 6 to 10 to 12 different stamp sets and how they work together, and experiment with some new ideas. So all of those kinds of things have been on my mind, and I want to like head into the new year a little bit fresh. So however, if you are in the Craft Your Joy Lab community, I am posting something there like every day, and I am sharing, and many of you are commenting and sharing your own things. So in that space, that's the space that I know people want. I feel like if you've joined there, you want to be there, and it's ad-free, clutter-free, so it's not like hitting when you go onto social media, when you're not seeing posts from me or creative ideas or inspiration. There, you're seeing them. Okay, the magical step next is the score. I have a score buddy. This is a there are a couple different brands, but I think this is the original. This was designed by this is the Score Pal. So this is the little one, and we're going to use it to create that line right down the center of the tree. If you don't have one of these, you could easily just take your bone folder and either a straight edge or a ruler and just kind of line up, and then we're going to make that score right there. So what I'm doing here is I'm lining up the tip of the tree. I've got that flush. I'm lining the tip of the tree in with one of the the lines here. It just happens to fall on the 3, and I'm going to score right here. And that's, everything is good and dry. You're going to need everything to be really dry. And because I'm using watercolor paper, it is kind of, it's a little bit difficult to move. So I'm going back and forth with it a little bit. And then I've got my piece that's ready. So let's do the other two. Remember, you could use a ruler and just your bone folder to create that score line. If you're using a thinner paper, not a watercolor paper, you could just fold it in half and probably be okay. But the reason why I broke out this tool is because we are using watercolor paper, and it's just a little thicker. So even a Gina K cardstock, you're gonna need to use a bone folder. But see how nice and clean that line is? Love it. Love it, love it, love it. Okay. All right, let's just go ahead in. I've had this Score Pal. I have the big one too, like the 12 by 12 one. I have had this since I think it was invented by Diana Crick. I love it. I've had it. It's perfect. You use it for cards. It's got all the perfect lines for it. It's just an old school tool that I've just go back and forth and use, and you can see how well loved it is. It's filthy dirty, like most of the things in my stash that I don't clean. All right, let's go ahead and move that. Now, I'm just going to glue 2 sides together, and then we're going to put in, I've got some wet glue. This is just some Tombow. You could use your Gina K, which I am. Thought that I ordered it, but evidently I did not put it in my cart when I got my little die cutter. So I've got to place another order. No biggie. I go through the glue. All right, we're just going to go ahead and line this up. So Cheryl, you can see that for making this like a treat box, it doesn't kind of work with the way I did this design, because you can see I'm just kind of doing them back to back to back. But in order to make it like work for a treat box, you would have to like glue them Put a little bead of glue down the side so that the center is open. Okay, now I've got a little bit of baker's twine. Let's go ahead and cut some of the baker's twine, and this is going to be for our little piece of string to hang the ornament or use it as a tag. I've got my baker's twine here. Honestly, friends, this baker's twine roll, I know for a fact, and I've used this in products that I've sold in my online shop or when I've done markets. I know for a fact I've had this for like 18 years. It seems like the more it's never going to, like, I use so much of it and it's never going to go away. And I love it. I just keep using it. Okay, I'm just tying a little slip knot, like a little knot. And then we're going to go ahead and glue in that piece of baker's twine right here. And the reason why I tied that little knot is that just kind of telling me where that knot's going to go at the top. And then I'm just letting that little bit of glue catch the center there. Now we're going to put a big bead of glue along the edge here. I'm also very messy with the glue. Got it all over my fingers. Look at this. Got it everywhere, but that's okay. Getting a nice little bead of glue around these edges. Make sure you really do want to hit those corners because that's where your corners are touching. Nice little bead of glue up here. And then just kind of get some in the middle. All right, let's close that up. And then I'm going to go one side at a time. Just kind of plunk that down. And that's going to cover the baker's twine and plunk this down. And because that die, because the triangle is symmetrical in shape, it will line up perfectly. You might get a little extra like floating over, but because we're using that glue, it's going to give you an opportunity to kind of move it. All right, I'm digging that. I'm digging the way that looks. Cheryl just said, oh, I see, we'll try scoring a quarter on each side. Yes, if you scored a little bit down here on the edge, just make it consistent around, and you can create like a little tab and create an ornament that goes, instead of going in like this is, you can have it go out. And then you'd have that room on the inside to like drop some candy in. Yeah. All right. Love that. All right. Now, just to bring this all home and add a little bit of a 3D quality to it, we're going to bring in our, not that it isn't already 3D. We're going to bring in our embellishments here. And remember how I said we've got that little tail happening that I didn't really love? I'm just going to pop that right in that negative space. And look at what that little embellishment adds to the whole project. So we've got the same flower, but because it's mixing in with the gouache, it's got a milkier color to it. This has a little bit more white shining through, so we've got some immediate contrast. All right, that little piece right there, we're just going to add an embellishment there. Boop, boop, boop. Just hold it. Love that. And then here was my big tail that I really didn't love, but like I said, you just don't worry about it because you know that you're going to end up covering it up. And I love that. And we've got that nice little contrast. So let's take a look at all of the angles here of the ornament. You can see it from the top. And when I go to the front of the camera, you can see it. Woo-hoo-hoo, when I go to the front. Let's go ahead and go to the front. Look at that. So here, let me pull it closer to my face. There we go. And you've got this really fun ornament. If I pull it closer to the camera, It just wants to focus on my face. So let's back up a little bit. I'm kind of digging that. I'm loving the way it looks. I like it. Yeah, super fun. Okay, so we created two. So I have two little ornaments here. This could also be really cute. You could sit it on a table because you would see it like looking like this. It would be really cute as a little centerpiece on a table, like your Christmas table. So if you're going to do that and create these, just don't do this part. Just don't do the tag part at the top. I think what I'm going to do is pop these. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'll probably pop them on some of those gifts I need to wrap, right? Okay, friends, I hope you really enjoyed this tutorial. I hope you got a lot out of it. This was the last of the tutorials in the series. Let's just do a quick recap of the things that we have done together over the last 3 weeks. We've had, you can see they all have the same color palette. We've had the oversized card, the tag, and the 3D ornament. How fun has this series been? How fun! It has been really, really fun. If you haven't had an opportunity, if you've missed the last 2 tutorials, they are right here on my YouTube channel in a playlist called Holiday. They're all here. The last 3 years of holiday projects are all in this one playlist. And this last 3 tutorials are the last 3 videos on my channel. So you could also go back and look at all of the other tutorials that we've done over the last 2 years. And there's some really fun ones. Really, really fun ones. Thank you, Judith. Sandra said, could be a place setting for your family. Holy smokes, yes. This could be like a little place card. Let's see. I guess I got to hold it to my face in order for it to not get wonky. Gloria just said, thank you. Best of holidays to all. Lots of fun. Merry Christmas, friends. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah. Next week is a big week for everyone. And I hope you got a lot. I hope you had fun over these last 3 weeks with these holiday ideas. Again, you don't need to have the supplies that I use to create them, but I hope they spark some interest and ideas for you to make it your own. Cheryl just shared, I love the series. It's been so much fun. Irma, beautiful ornaments. Rhonda said the series has been great. I'm so glad. I'm so happy that everyone has enjoyed the series. Okay, friends, I'm going to send you into the weekend to craft your joy. We are heading into a busy holiday weekend. Please be careful out there. Enjoy your family and friends. I won't see you next week, but I'll be thinking of you. And if you're in the Craft Your Joy Lab, you'll be hearing from me because I'll be sharing some content over there. And if you're not, I would love for you to join in our free community. And again, it's at craftyourjoylab.com. And the information is down below in the description. Okay, friends, Merry Christmas, everyone. Happy Hanukkah. And I will see you in the new year. Bye now, friends.